Are all politicians dismissing of attachment? Peter Lovenheim, the author of The Attachment Effect, hoped to find out what the most common attachment patterns of politicians might be. He asked questions from the adult attachment interview to several politicians and found their attachment patterns to be surprisingly consistent. Hello and welcome to Attachment Maps. My name is Carl, and I'm here to tell you things about attachment that no one else is talking about. Anyway, remember Michael Dukakis? Dukakis was the Democratic presidential candidate who ran against and lost to George W. Bush in 1988. I know, that's a long time ago. Dukakis was also the longest-serving governor in the state of Massachusetts. Lovenheim, a longtime admirer of Dukakis, personally administered the adult attachment interview. The result? Dukakis was judged to be dismissing of attachment. And here are the details of what he found out. Psychotherapist Dr. Shoshana Ringel, who coded the AAI transcript, stated that Dukakis had difficulty finding memories or experiences that reflected the adjectives he provided to describe his relationship with his parents. There was an emphasis on academic achievement, not emotional support, and Dukakis endorsed his mother's disciplining even when it was harsh and shaming. On his homesickness at summer camp, Dukakis admits to missing his parents but is unable to reflect on it, understand it, or accept it even many, many years later. In regard to threats and punishment from his father, Dukakis does admit to some adverse experiences and his father's temper, but makes fun of the event and minimizes it. Dukakis recalled his grandmother's death in the family home, but it was a generic description of experience, remote and impersonal. And on his brother Stellion's mental illness, Dukakis discussed the process of his brother's illness, not how it affected him, and used logic, but minimized feelings. Dr. Ringel summarized Dukakis' transcript by explaining that it was characterized by abstract responses that were remote from memories and feelings. The self was described as strong and independent, and if he showed vulnerability, it was minimized. There was little expression of feelings and of needing or depending, and there was actually an active dismissal of those feelings. There was minimizing and downplaying of negative experiences, emphasis on achievements, academic success, and athletics, rather than emotional intimacy. Lovenheim speculated that Dukakis' dismissing attachment helped give him the drive and self-reliance to become a successful governor. It also may have been responsible for his presidential nominee acceptance speech, which was so uninspiring that it served as an example of what not to do for years. And it might also have been what led him in a televised debate to respond to a question about his wife's hypothetical grape with an emotionless statement of policy. Lovenheim went on to interview several more politicians, and as it turned out, most of them were dismissing. So why would a dismissing attachment pattern be overrepresented in politics? Again, Lovenheim speculates that being dismissing could be an advantage to someone pursuing public office. People who are dismissing of attachment tend to be self-reliant, a necessary trait among those seeking elected office. They also tend to do well spending long stretches of time away from home and family, a necessity for those campaigning for office, and then holding statewide or national office. Additionally, people with dismissing attachment also tend to be reluctant to trust others, a trait that could offer an additional advantage in a field seemingly rife with double dealing and betrayal. Lovenheim's book was published in 2018, in the middle of Trump's first term. He had this to say about the president. Republican Donald Trump also showed traits consistent with attachment avoidance, strong self-reliance, not acknowledging self-doubts, referencing sexual relations as bragging points rather than intimacy, and idealization of parents despite disconfirming evidence. An evident need to be in the spotlight if it were aimed primarily at receiving approval, might be evidence of attachment anxiety, but in Trump's case, it appears to be more about adulation, which would be consistent with avoidance. In sum, the weight of the evidence, particularly his apparent extreme self-reliance, would place our 45th president among the long line of politicians whose dominant attachment style is avoidant. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.